Day in 1945, 80 years ago, Japan officially surrendered, marking the end of World War II. While Americans did celebrate weeks before when President Harry Truman announced Japan's surrender, September 2nd marks the day that Japan officially signed surrender on the deck of the USS Missouri in Tokyo Bay, marking an end to the deadliest and most destructive war in history. And South Carolina today is paying tribute in a big way. So happening in just a couple of hours this morning, we have South Carolina Remembers, the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II. That'll be happening at the State House. The event will feature wreath laying, live music, and special guests, including veterans, historians, and lawmakers. So joining us now, we have one of the event organizers. We have Catherine Fleming Bruce to share what we can expect today. How are you today?
Oh, I'm very excited. I'm very excited.
I'm excited to chat with you as well. We also have on the phone right now, we have historian Dr. Fritz Hamer to talk more about why this anniversary matters. Dr. Hamer, thank you so much for dialing in this morning.
My pleasure, thank you.
Of course. Well, I would love to start with you, sir, to talk a little bit about the history, about the significance of this day. Can you kind of break down, I know I just mentioned it just a little bit ago, but can you kind of break down the significance of this historic day and also really breaking it down why it's important for South Carolina to remember it as well?
Well, as you started in your introduction, the war had tremendous impact throughout the nation and the world, and for South Carolina it was sort of a turning point in that its economy and its exposure to the outside world was tremendous. For example, at Fort Jackson, they trained more than 500,000 American soldiers to fight overseas, either in the Pacific and Europe. And by having that number of people come into Little Columbia, which at the time had a population of maybe 65,000, it was a huge change to the whole dynamics of the city and the people who had lived here for so long. They met new people, and they would be exposed to new ideas, even new foods sometimes. So that was a sort of a microcosm of the change that would come to the Midlands, but this would happen throughout the state. You had airfields that were built like the Columbia Army Air Base that is now Columbia International Airport. That was a little airfield in 1941. By 1945, it was a major training installation that after the war was turned over to the city and would become a major airport. And similarly, that would happen in places like Greenville and in Charleston. The Charleston Navy Yard was a small repair and building facility for ships in the 1930s. And by 1944, its small workforce of maybe 1,000 had grown to 25,000. And that had a huge impact, on the city of Charleston, because they couldn't handle the many thousands of families and workers that entered the city. And they again were exposed to new ideas and new people that they'd never had before. So those are some of the small, major things that happened in some of the communities around South Carolina. Another thing that I find fascinating is that at the same time, while by the mid part of the war, 1943, we were starting to become more victorious over the Axis. And in doing so, we captured thousands of German enemy troops in North Africa and then in Europe. And to put these prisoners in a safe place away from the war, we shipped thousands of these soldiers to the United States to be incarcerated in prison camps. And some of these ended up in South Carolina. And by 1945, we have an estimate about 8,000 to 10,000 German prisoners of war incarcerated in camps, some 25 camps throughout South Carolina. And these were not just people put in camps, but they were used as labor, particularly on farms and in pulp and paper mills, because most of the traditional workforce had gone off to war, either serving in the military or working in war industries. So we needed the help of these German prisoners to harvest the crops. and we have communications with these people after the war about how they appreciated what they saw in South Carolina and what they did. And a lot of the farmers in South Carolina were greatly relieved to have their work, because without them, many of the food crops would not have been harvested.
Wow.
So that's another small story that is a little known in the state today, which I have tried to promote more over the years.
This is amazing to be able to hear how important South Carolina was with World War II and honoring this. I know especially today there is that big event. So Catherine, here, talk a little bit about what people can expect this morning at the State House.
Well, we wanted to start off the State House at 10 with our wreath laying. So we're going to be at Memorial Park.
Right.
And there are 6 World War II monuments there. So if you haven't had a chance to visit, please do. But we'll be doing wreath laying there at those 6 places. Then we'll go to the Columbia Peace Pole, which is right in front of the Hilton Hotel in the Vista. And then we'll come back to the State House grounds to the Veterans Memorial. So that will take us right up until 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
Our program starts at 11. We'll have greetings from some of our legislators, one of whom, Doug Gillum, is the military caucus leader. We'll have a greeting from Jeffrey Graham, who's the senator who represents the area where the National Park Service has recognized South Carolina as an American World War II city. That's the city of Sumter. Then we'll have a number of historians and other distinguished individuals there today. We're also going to recognize some state legislators who were World War II involved. Strom Thurmond, Herbert Fielding, some other familiar names. We're going to recognize some World War II vets. I think there are at least 3 coming.
Great.
3 coming who have been in touch with me. Hopefully there'll be some others, but we'll be really thrilled to recognize them. We'll have the Fort Jackson Brass Quintet there to play. And we'll hear stories that range from people who have lost family members in World War II to our main leaders who participated, to veterans who are with us right now.
This truly is a first full circle moment. I mean, just with this interview alone, with Dr. Hamer kind of giving us that inside look of really what happened and how South Carolina played a role to now today, 80 years later, as we are honoring this and as we are remembering our fallen, remembering our veterans to this day, and our congressmen and women, as well as all of our leaders. So this is going to be a great event too. And your nonprofit as well, it does so much for our community and a lot with history too. Can you talk a little bit about it?
Well, sure. We started in 2017 working on projects that either partner with folks who are trying to do historic preservation, and we're working on our own buildings. We spent some time last year looking at World War II, mainly because of Oppenheimer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because of Oppenheimer, and going to see the film and seeing that there was a character in from South Carolina in the film. And so, I didn't realize that, so I started to do some history and working with the National Park Service and identifying. I saw how much history we have in South Carolina that connects to World War II. So we're pleased to be able to lift it up today.
I love it. All righty. Well, all of that event, all that information, we're going to be putting it on our website in just a couple of minutes, WLTX.com. So you still got some time to go ahead and enjoy that event. Thank you so much for stopping by this morning. We appreciate you. We also appreciate Dr. Hamer for chatting a little bit about us about the history. Again, it'll be on our website, WLTX.com.